Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson, joined now by Sam Herder from Hero Sports. He's going to pick some games in just a minute. But first, Sam, I want to talk a little bit about Montana State's matchup with Oregon from this past weekend. Kind of hard to gauge what we can expect from the Bobcats going forward. However, what were the few positives that you took away from that game week one?
I think we got a glimpse of what might be somewhat of a new look offense for Montana State. Obviously, the Cats are still going to rely on their really good offensive line and their deep stable of running backs, but I think you're going to see a little bit more passing from Montana State, some kind of quick hitting passing game, more efficient, throwing. And I think we saw that with new starting quarterback Justin Lamson after he went 23 of 31 for 198 yards. Obviously, a very efficient day there. So it'll be interesting to see how that carryovers against FCS competition, where they certainly are going to be able to run the ball much better than what they did against Oregon. But you couple that power rushing attack with that quick hitting passing game, I think it will be very fascinating to see how that stacks up against FCS competition.
Of course, their first FCS matchup is this weekend, hosting number 2 South Dakota State. I'll get your pick for this game at the end of the show. It is a 2-3 matchup. How important is a win on Saturday if Montana State wants to be one of those top 8 teams who receives a bye come playoff time?
Yeah, I think this is very crucial, especially with an 0-1 start. Now, losing to Oregon, you don't get punished for that, but it is one less Division One win than what South Dakota State has right now, what NDSU has right now. And so if you lose this game to Montana or to South Dakota State, excuse me, again, it's a quote unquote quality loss. Like you lost to Oregon, you lost to South Dakota State. Those are two really good teams, but you're still sitting at 0-2, and now you're two Division One wins behind other teams that are also fighting for high seeds. So I do think this is crucial just to get on the win column, get a highly ranked win on your resume, and definitely these non-conference matchups are huge when it comes to postseason positioning. I mean, this could be the difference between getting the 2 seed and the 3 seed. Way down the line, and that's the difference between going on the road or staying at home for the semifinals. So this is it's only week 2, but the repercussions of this game, win or lose, is really big for both of these squads.
Sam, we're going to pick some games. Idaho State heads to Albuquerque this weekend to face a familiar head coach in Jason Eck. He was at the Big Sky the last 3 seasons coaching Idaho. Again, New Mexico versus Idaho State. Who do you like in this one?
Yeah, I think you go with New Mexico here. Idaho State did look really good against UNLV in week 0, nearly got an FBS win that week, but it seemed like they took a step back this last week and losing pretty decisively to Southern Utah. New Mexico, I think is definitely building something there, like you mentioned, Jason Eck. And so I think you do have to favor New Mexico in this one.
Someone else who is building something is Brian Wright in Flagstaff with Northern Arizona. They host Utah Tech this Saturday for their home opener. Utah Tech, this is their second of 3 consecutive Big Sky matchups. They, of course, join the conference officially next year. Trailblazers versus Lumberjacks. Who you taking?
I like Northern Arizona here. I really like what they have coming back from last year's squad that made the playoffs. So, I mean, Utah Tech has not been a very good football team, but they did push UC Davis and actually held a pretty decisive lead this last weekend over Davis before the Aggies mounted a huge comeback for a win there. And so I think if you're Northern Arizona, maybe that perks your ears up a little bit more about this game and, really hammers home that you can't just assume you're going to win this game. But I do think Northern Arizona should win.
And finally, our game of the week, Gold Rush in Bozeman. 2 versus 3, South Dakota State, Montana State, Jackrabbits versus Bobcats. Which animal are you picking?
Both teams lost a lot, whether it be the transfer portal or just the senior class, but I really thought both squads had a really good nucleus coming back. South Dakota State looked better than I expected this last week against Sacramento State. But again, maybe Sac State's not that good. Maybe they are better than we expected. We just don't know. So really tough to gauge both squads here. I do favor Montana State and we'll pick them to win. I do think they look like they're about the same on paper, just matchup wise. But with this being at home, I do think that gives Montana State the edge. That crowd noise can push you over the top, whether it's a big third down stop or you get a key turnover and you're just feeding off the crowd and your offense goes down and scores to go up, 10 points instead of 3 points. So I do think that home crowd just narrowly pushes Montana State over the edge here in what I really expect to be a really close game.
Well, Sam, you will be there. It is your first Gold Rush. I hope you have so much fun and enjoy the atmosphere in Bozeman. And thanks for joining me for Game Picks. And thank you all for joining me for another episode of This Week in Big Sky Football. It's going to be a good one in Bozeman. Once again, I'm Megan Robinson, and I'll see you all next week.